What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in a living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Famous? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, where do I always send you? Say it with me. DJLittleRock.com. One more time, DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you could have me at your next event. You know, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Make your next thing a big one. Yes. Speaking of entertained, today on the program, Mojo Alice. Yes. Miss Mojo Alice. Who's Mojo Alice? Well, you're going to find out in the next few minutes. So stick around, Mojo Alice. This week's shows, well, let's see. It's been a couple of weeks, maybe 3 weeks since the RAB has been closed down due to a couple of people in the pool tournament getting coronavirus, so they locked it down. But they've assured me that they've cleaned it all up. They've sprayed it down. They disinfected. They've ultraviolet lighted. They've bleached it. They've tented the place. I don't know what they did, but it's clean and it's beautiful, and they're ready to open back up this next Friday night with precautions, of course. Wear your mask, people, and wash your hands and sanitize, all that kind of stuff. You know, you should have been washing your hands anyway. And from what I understand, people in Asian countries, they wear masks whenever they feel a little sick. But since we don't know who's sick and who's not sick, wear a mask. It's what the scientists are telling you to do. And it's not such a big deal to put a mask on. Yes, at first, I was reluctant as well. I can't believe it. I got to wear a mask. What am I, a superhero? What am I, a bank robber? No, wear the mask. Wear the mask. Wear the mask. When you're out in public dealing with people, wear the mask. Do it. Do it. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. If you're 6 feet away from people, wear the mask, baby. If you're in your car by yourself, take that mask off. I see people driving around with the mask. I'm like, what are you, heading for a bank robbery? No. What are you, robbing a liquor store? Come on, man. Take that mask. No. But, okay, I'm not going to mask shame. I guess I just did. All right. Wear the mask. It doesn't make that big of a deal to wear the mask when you're going into an establishment and dealing with other people. You know, from what I understand, in the restaurants, when you're eating, you're drinking, you're physically needing to use your mouth, you could take the mask down. That doesn't mean that you're safe. That doesn't mean that coronavirus isn't going to get you. If you take that mask down so you could have a bite of meatloaf or, green beans, you see what I want for dinner. But, just wear your mask. So Friday night, as I formally stated before I went off on a rant, you can, the RAB, Conway, Arkansas, the place to be, karaoke, video dance party. I say dance party, the dance floor is closed. So stay at least 20 feet away from the people on stage that are singing karaoke, because, those droplets, they go far, especially if you're belting out your favorite song in karaoke style. So, we're going to keep that stage far away from that first table, from that first chair, at least 12 feet, probably closer to 20 feet away. So you could sing on stage and be the star of your karaoke show right there at the RAB in Conway, Arkansas. That's 7:30 to 10:30. They're new hours. I know that they're closing bars and restaurants down at 11 p.m. because, as everybody knows, coronavirus doesn't come out until after 11 p.m., right? Is that scientific? I don't know. I'm just trying to do what the scientists tell me, what the government tells me. I trust that they know what they're doing. Hopefully. You voted for them. You might as well trust them, right? Right. Let's do it. Okay. I talked to Mojo Alice. I got them on the Skype. Let's see. I got one member of Mojo Alice. It was Morpheus Tilley. He was able to come on the program. I got him on the Skype. So If you're listening to the audio only version of this, I encourage you to check out the video version on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/KeysDan, or just look up Keys Dan on YouTube. I know that I have 3 YouTube channels, but it's the one that has the Radio What logo right next to my name, and that's where you'll find Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice talking to me. So let's get into it with Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice. Skyping Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice now. Could it be? Could it be Morpheus Tilley? Is that what we're going by?
That's me.
That's fantastic. Keys Dan here. What Makes You Famous podcast.
Are you wanting to video or just talk?
No, we could do video. Are you not being able to see me?
Yeah, I can't see it though.
Ah, that happens. But I got you on my video software, so when the video version of this comes out, the people will see you right next to me, your smiling face. You're in a very white room. It looks kind of angelic for people that are listening.
Yeah, it's our office, so it's kind of white and peaceful.
Well, fantastic, man. Well, we're just getting to know each other. Morpheus Tilley. I didn't even know I was going to be speaking to Morpheus Tilley, but I'm guessing you're one of the members of Mojo Alice.
Yeah, so I played drums, and Jem, the vocalist, is away on her wedding anniversary this weekend, so she's not around. And Brody and Maddie, our guitarist and bass players, I don't know where they are. Are they able to join this link from a separate Skype
Absolutely.
account?
Absolutely. They can always call in, and what it'll do is every time somebody talks, it will revolve the picture back and forth.
Sweet.
So are they out there somewhere? Are they going to be calling in?
Yeah, I've just messaged them now, actually. They had a big night last night.
I like that. Big nights, life of the rock star.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's what we're going to go with. So who was it that's at the wedding anniversary?
That's Jem, our singer.
Oh, the lady front girl.
Yeah, that's it.
Mojo, you said Jean?
What was that, Dan?
What was her name?
Jem. Jem.
Jem. All right. There's a bit of an accent thing, and I know you don't have an accent. I have the accent. I'm the one with the accent. You guys understand each other perfectly. Whereabouts in the world do you find yourself today, Mr. Morpheus Tilley?
So I reside in a place called, it's a seaside village called Paikakariki. That's just north of Wellington.
Wellington, in the beautiful country of New Zealand.
That's it.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, New Zealand, since we're waiting on some other people to call in, we could do current events. New Zealand, man, part of the lockdown. I heard you guys did very well during this COVID-19 thing.
Yeah, well, I think we're lucky that we're an island with only 5 million people. Who generally follow the rules of what the government asks them to do. So, yeah, I think we've been very lucky. We still have it here, though. There's people coming in from overseas that are in quarantine with it. And, we've had the odd community cluster, but no, we have been very fortunate.
Yeah, but the news that we get, yes, with 5 million people, that's a lot of people. That's a respectable amount of people. But with the news that we get here in the States from New Zealand, every time you get 8 people, it makes international news. 8 out of 5 million international news. So from what we understand, you're following all the rules. You're doing what the scientists tell you to do. You're doing what the governors tell you to do, and it seems to be working out for you.
I think it's the contact tracing. I think every shop you go into has a QR code that you can scan into. So if anybody gets the virus or develops it, they can trace back to who's been in the shop or the supermarket or on the public transport. It seems to be the supermarkets and the public transport that's got, it's where it sort of transmits the quickest.
Oh, man. So, minus the superheroes and the bank robbers, nobody wants to wear these masks. But if the scientists tell you to wear a mask, I'll wear a mask. If they say that's what's going to help, Wear a mask, you silly fool. That's all you got to do
Exactly.
to have some kind of a sense of normalcy. Now, have you been stuck inside, or are you able to go out and about a little bit?
No, we've pretty much got our freedoms back. We had our 8-week lockdown at the end of March, through March and April, and then Auckland had a lockdown, I think, for about 3 weeks, where they were pretty not inside, but they had to be. They're under restrictions. But no, we've been pretty lucky, really.
Oh, you're giving the people gems, Morpheus Tilley. Should I be calling you Morpheus Tilley, or Morpheus, or Tilley, or Mo, or Morph, or Pheus?
Oh, Morpheus will do. Morpheus Tilley's fine, man. It's all good.
How did you get the name Morpheus Tilley? Is that your God-given name, or is that a stage name?
That's my nickname.
That's fantastic. Morpheus, the god of sleep. Do you like to rest a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's because I'm bald.
Oh, well, stop it. Bald is beautiful. If I have a full head of hair, and I'm very happy about that. But if my wife had her druthers, I would shave my head because she likes it clean shaven. Picard is her Star Trek captain for sure. John Luke. And I have a feeling that she'd rather be with him than with me sometimes, but she does like bald, and her dad is bald, so I guess she's partial to that. It's a beautiful thing, man. You have a well-shaped head. Some people don't look good bald.
Oh, I try to look after it,
He buffs it, he shines it. What's the regiment?
Whereabouts are you based in the US?
I'm in Conway, Arkansas, right in the center south, I guess. It's one of the southern states that I think a lot of the people don't believe that the Civil War of the United States is over here in this part of the country, it seems. I'm from Miami, Florida, which was a lot more liberal, a lot more melting pot, if you will.
Yep.
But I moved here, and there was a little bit of a culture shock. But hey, I'm used to it. I'm liking it. You overcome and adapt wherever you live. Have you always lived in the Wellington area? Is that your place?
No, I was originally from Auckland, and then I went traveling a few years back, and so I've lived over in the UK for a while.
Wow. Okay.
So I've been in Wellington for about 10 years. 15 years now.
Well, Auckland, to me, that's the capital of New Zealand, right? And that's one of the biggest places, the biggest cities.
Auckland is the biggest city, but Wellington's the capital. That's where the government is.
Okay, that's where the government is. See, you're giving me geography lessons and civics lessons and governmental lessons. See, I'm learning from you, and that's one of the things I like about this podcast. Is I get to learn from people all over the world, and my listeners get to learn about people all over the world. Now, I have. I know we're here to talk about Mojo Alice, the wonderful band, the wonderful rock band, very hard rock driven. Whenever I was listening to some of the videos that you have on YouTube, and my goodness, they are hard rocking, guitar driven, drums just banging, pow, 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 just really firing shots at you. And then I listened to this unplugged version, and it was so sweet. It was so sweet.
Oh yeah, that's funny. That song has that Channeling the Ace. We've just released that on Spotify this week, and that's the heavy version on Spotify. But yeah, we did a little bit of unplugged stuff just for a bit of fun. It came out really well, actually. Yeah, I was really pleased with that.
It did. It's nice to see the softer side of Mojo Alice, because I'm hearing hard rock, and I know we have a station, a radio station. I'm sure there's radio stations all over the world that will play music that they call The Edge. In fact, our station here in Little Rock, Arkansas is called The Edge, and they play that edge music, and it's all hard. And there's only so much you could take of that. But it is good if you're, after a long week of work, you want to just let loose and tear out. To go to a Mojo Alice concert, it seems to be a way to let your inhibitions fly and to let those feelings of angst and woe go. But I'm watching some of the live videos that you had on your YouTube, and it seems like your audience is very subdued. You guys are rocking out on stage, and they look like oil paintings. Is that the way it is there?
Yeah. Well, we were supporting a bigger New Zealand band at that gig, and so they hadn't seen us before, but they were very appreciative, and that's the great thing about Kiwis or New Zealanders, is that they will, give you a lot of positive feedback. Yeah, but it is a subdued crowd. They were waiting for the Feelers, was the New Zealand band that were following us. So that's why it's a little bit subdued. But it was still a good gig. We really enjoyed it.
All right, and I'm glad you gave credit where credit is due, because I do like to do that. If you're opening for a band, I want to know who that band is. The Feelers, are they a bigger band that travel all over New Zealand in the area?
Well, they were big in the late 90s and early 2000s. They got some really good tunes. They sort of just do an annual tour now. But so they sort of go around New Zealand. They've got a summer tour coming up in January. So generally, they do a tour every 12 months. But they used to be a fully working professional band, I think, sort of 20 years ago.
All right. Well, Mr. Morpheus, growing up in Auckland, the biggest city, but not the capital. You've definitely told me that Wellington is the capital where the government is. I'm learning about New Zealand civics, but growing up in Auckland, and how old a man are you, and when did you graduate high school, and how was the life growing up for Morpheus Tilley?
I think most New Zealanders have a pretty privileged sort of upbringing in the fact that it's a safe country, and there's plenty to do. I guess I'm a bit older than the other guys in the band, so I've been in a lot of bands over the years. So I've been playing in bands for about 30 years, and this has kind of got us to the point where the chemistry has really gelled together. So it's good. Yeah, it's really good to sort of be playing with Mojo Alice.
Yeah, from what I understand, you've been playing, about 15 months, if I was reading your bio correctly, a little more than a year. I'm 51 years old. Before I was 50, and I'm also in the entertainment business myself, before I was 50, I was always hesitant to tell my age. But as soon as I became 50, I just shouted it from the rooftops. I'm 50. I can kick and stretch and kick. I'm 50 years old. And now I'm 51 years old, class of 1986. So I have no problems with that. I think it's a good age. Once you get to a certain point and you have some knowledge in your pocket, then you want to spread that knowledge out. And then once you have a certain amount of status, to where you got your life in order, then you want to start helping other people out as well, if you haven't been doing it already. And that's what I like to do with this podcast, definitely, is helping other people out. Now I'm promoting Mojo Alice, and I want you to tell your story any way that you want to tell it. If you want to start with how the band began, that's fine. Or if you want to start with how Morpheus Tilley began, that's fine too.
I'll just start with the band. We got together in 2016, and just the usual way that bands get together, with ads on the music pages online. We originally started off as a covers band, but that got boring very quickly. We were pretty good. We used to do some pretty cool covers of AC/DC and Led Zeppelin, all those classic stuff, but we could see that writing originals is where we all wanted to go. So once we made that collective decision, we just got stuck into it. So sort of from the beginning of 2018 onwards, we were solely an original band, and put together the 9 songs that are on our first album, Liquid Sin, which we put out in 2019 in September. So between the beginning of 2018 and April of 2019, we put together a bunch of songs for that album, and then we recorded it ourselves, actually. Yeah, we did it all DIY, which was a great learning experience. So we're really pleased with the outcome. We did the recording in our rehearsal room and had it all set up as a studio, and then we sent the mixes off, the songs off to get mixed and mastered by a local guy in Wellington who's very good. And then we put the album out last September.
All right. So from 2016 to 2018, you're a cover band. But previous to that, I'm guessing that you were all seasoned musicians at that time, already in 2016, correct?
We haven't. And we had a change of bass player. Maddie came in at the start of last year, February, March last year. Our old bass player had decided it wasn't really for him. And so Maddie came in, and it's sort of we've just kept it going forward. But yeah, we can all play. I mean, I've been playing for a long time. Jim's been singing for a while, and Brody and Maddie are both pretty proficient at what they do. So it's great. It works really well, and we get on very well together too.
You've been drumming since you were a kid. When did you start doing the drumming?
I started when I was 18. So
that's a kid.
I was playing sport up till then, and then got an injury that I couldn't really carry on playing rugby, which is our national game.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to just turn my hands. I could always drum. I just never sort of taken it seriously. So I just decided to get stuck into that, and it has become a passion now, really.
Well, judging from looking at you from the waist up, you're a fit fellow, very strong. Do you still keep active playing rugby, or is that way behind you?
Oh no, that's way behind me now. It's I watch it. I mean, we follow our team, the All Blacks, and we follow them whenever they're playing, and all our local Wellington teams. But no, it's all music now.
So how do you stay in shape? How do you keep fit?
I do enjoy getting out in the surf, though.
There you go.
And that's the thing with all the beaches that are local. You can get out and have a surf, which is good.
See, that's a thing. For us, we think of New Zealand, we think of the Kiwis. You mentioned that's the that's affectionate name of the people, but and I'm not even sure how that started. And then we also think of surfing, that you have some amazing surfing. So you're one of those surfers. Have you surfed since you were a young lad?
No, just get out and enjoy it. I don't take that seriously. Just whenever I can.
And when you say surf, do you mean on a board or do you mean go swimming?
Sometimes, but it's more now. I just get into the body surfing. If the surf's up, you get in and have a quick swim in a body surf. And my younger boy is into surfing. He lives up in another part of New Zealand where there's surf beach basically out his back door, so he surfs a lot. But it's just that's like therapy, going for a swim, isn't it? And keeps you fit.
In my early 20s, I tried one time to surf. I had a buddy who had two surfboards, and he said, "Here, take that one." It was like a 5-foot board, I think, and I can't remember exactly, but he said, "Just take that one." And we went over to Sebastian Beach, and I think the waves were about waist high. And that's about as high as they get here or in South Florida where I was living. But from what I understand, that's not the case in New Zealand. How high do the waves get, and how high do the waves get when you're body surfing in Wellington area?
Well, I like the big stuff, but you sort of anything from a metre up to 2.5 metres, it's probably about average, maybe 3. I wouldn't go out in 3-metre swells, but certainly like it when it's the 1.5 to 2 metres with a good face on it.
Okay. Have you ever been injured? Have you ever been injured doing the surfing?
Yeah, I've hit the sand a couple of times. You just got to make sure that it's closer to full tide than low tide. That's what I've learned.
And you say your boy is an actual surfer. Does he do competitions, or is it all for fun?
That's just his hobby. He just gets it. I think sometimes even he if the surf's good, he's one of those guys that takes the day off work.
Oh, okay. Okay. I remember watching a movie about Californians, and it was I likened it to, I'm from the Florida Keys, which is the other side of the country, and it's very laid back, very easy going. And if the fishing is good, if the weather is good, nobody works. Everybody's on a boat or fishing off of a bridge. And I imagine, in the Californian movie that I was mentioning, the surf was up, nobody went to work, go out and surf the waves. So, I mean, I could see that, okay, it's starting to give me an idea of how the mindset of the people. You said they were very obedient people. They listen to what the government says. They trust the government. You trust your government the way that they're directing you. It seems like that is the case. But, you're also a very laid back and tell me about the Kiwis, the overview of what you think New Zealand life is, and I want to learn about the difference between New Zealand life and UK life, and where were you in the UK when you went over there, and what were you doing?
I was living in London. Living in London and going to every gig possible when I was over there. Anything that was I was slightly interested in, I would go and watch. As a musician, just to learn, really, and enjoy. Kiwis are hardworking, and we're sort of a pioneering sort of race of people. So we kind of can turn our hands to most things. I think a lot of do-it-yourself sort of mentality. So I think people always say when they visit New Zealand, it's always a very friendly country, and people are very helpful, and I'd sort of have to agree with that.
I like that. That helps the tourism a little bit. It's a country that I want to I want to visit. It's definitely on my bucket list. I think I want.
You had to shut for 4 or 5 weeks in October and November, I think. So no, I think we're pretty fortunate now, and most people are getting the confidence back that our summer festivals can go ahead. And we've got there's been some big gigs already with 5 to 10,000 people attending. So let's hope that continues.
Yes, I hope so too. So tell me about Auckland to London, and did you just wear a sign around your neck, a sandwich board saying "drummer for hire, please hire me"? How did you get into gigs?
I actually took my cymbals with me, thinking I would join a band, and then got over there, and I realised there was just so many bands in London itself, and so many gigs to go to, that I really just put the cymbals under my bed and I just went out and enjoyed the city for 4 years. And that's I think the joy of those big cities. In America, when a band tours through, you just get to see everybody, even in the local pubs. Down around the corner, you'd see very good blues artists and rock artists that were just passing by.
So what was the draw of the UK? Were you going to university, or what got you there?
No, I mean, most New Zealanders do an overseas, we call it an OE, or an overseas experience. So, a lot of them go to Australia to work, or even to the States, to the UK. So, I mean, New Zealanders tend to travel because we're so far away. We tend to travel all over the place. And so really it was just a case of doing what every other guy my age was doing, and heading off and working overseas, just having a working holiday.
Oh, I encourage everyone in their 20s to see the world if you have the means, if you have a way to do it. I know in my 20s, I guess it was my late 20s, I took traveling across this country, these United States. There's so much to see in this one country itself. I've never been outside of the United States, to my demise. I still have this want, this desire to do so, but at least I've traveled throughout this country and seen the different states, which kind of act like their own countries in themselves. It seems, if all these states that are united together, each one has its own flavor, its own feel that makes it feel like it's its own country. So there's always something to do.
And I guess you've got to, when you go and live somewhere, you've got to abide by that state's rules, don't you? Because my understanding is each state has their own set of sort of policies and sort of rules for society. Oh,
for sure. It's definitely, in particular with this COVID-19, it's shown what to do and what not to do in many cases. Some states will lock completely the way down, and then they'll lick the coronavirus, similar to New Zealand. I think New York did that, to where they locked completely down, and now they're pretty much able to open up with precautions. And then California is still locked down. They keep opening up and locking down and opening up and locking down. But in the state of Arkansas, I don't think we locked down all that much, maybe for the first 2 months. And now it's pretty much go out with your mask and just take care of each other. Use your own better judgment, And so I don't know what school of thought is the best way to go.
Well, I guess it all depends on the population of the people, doesn't it? And the travelling from overseas and people coming in from other countries. I mean, that's how it's getting into our country, as people are returning back to New Zealand, and they just get quarantined. Everyone has to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks and get tested, I think, 3 times in that 2 weeks. So that's how we're keeping it at bay mostly.
Yeah, the latest thing I heard on our national public radio, NPR, was now it's 7 to 10 days. 7 if you get tested, 10 days if you don't get tested. But the feeling is that that's not even scientific. That is, people don't want to wait 14 days, so they cut it by 4 because of the will of the people rather than scientific evidence. It's amazing how politicized this virus has become. But I'm thankful that it looks like there's some vaccinations or some treatments that are coming over the horizon that look promising. I've heard that in Europe, they're even taking some of these vaccines, and they've been approved in the UK, if I'm not mistaken. How is that going over there, if you happen to know?
No, I don't know what's going. I mean, I think they're starting, aren't they? But hopefully in 12 months' time, the world looks like a much more relaxed place than it is at the moment.
Oh, yeah, we'll forget all about this. I remember 2019, we thought 2020, oh, that's going to be the year of clarity, clear vision. Oh, yes, we'll be able to do anything. And I guess in 2015, if anybody got asked, hey, what's your 5-year plan? You're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. You're not going to be doing that. What are you going to be doing in 5 years? Nope, not that. All right. So tell me about the UK. You said you couldn't play any gigs, but you were able to use that as a learning experience of some kind. What were you doing for work or in London?
I was teaching over there.
Teaching.
So it was really about just soaking up the live experience. Just going to the gigs and watching how the bands put on their show. And I mean, it was big. Some of the big gigs were, AC/DC doing one of their Razor's Edge tour. And then, there was smaller ones, going to watch Ian Gillan out of Deep Purple sing in a small club in London. I mean, that was just a fantastic gig because, the small club, it's hot and sweaty and loud. And that's, just the sort of scene I like. So it was, it was the big gigs and the small gigs, but I just soaked it all up, as much as possible.
All right, you're mentioning AC/DC, and I want you to date yourself. Were you able to see Bon Scott, or is it all Brian Johnson?
No, it was all Brian Johnson. It was the tour where Phil Rudd wasn't. It had Chris Slade on the drums. Phil Rudd wasn't back in the band by then. So that was, I think, 91. I saw them at Wembley Arena on the Razor's Edge tour. And then I saw them again in Wellington at the end of 2015. Just before Brian Johnson bowed out. So that was a very wet gig in the rain, but they did it. It was just awesome. Fantastic band live.
What an amazing band themselves. And they're, you'd say that they were guitar driven, but they're also vocal driven. The vocals of Bon Scott and the vocals of Brian Johnson, imitating Bon Scott, was just that when comedians imitate AC/DC, they're thinking, are you ready? It's always that, very driven by those voices. And a lot of people think, they're very derivative. All their songs sound the same. They don't. They're very hard. They're rocking.
If when you cover an AC/DC song, you realize that it's more complicated than it sounds. And, a song like Back in Black is actually quite a tricky song to do, well.
Oh, 1980. This is me on the back of the school bus with my little boom box listening to Back in Black to the detriment of the bus driver. And after a while, the bus driver figured out, well, if they play their music in the back, they won't bother me. So we're back there playing Back in Black and Led Zeppelin and all those other, even some Peter Frampton and the pop tunes as well. But oh my goodness, yeah, you're taking me back to. I'm class of '86, so the '80s were definitely my era to grow up in the late '70s, early '80s.
Yeah, are you more of a Brian Johnson fan or a Bon Scott fan?
Well, you see, I appreciate Bon Scott, but I never got to see him live. He passed way too soon. He was one of those superstars that shot off like a rocket and then exploded. And sadly, died too young. I don't even remember the details of his demise. How did he die? Do you remember?
I think he was out partying with some mates, and they left him to recover in the car in London. And I think it was cold, and it was either hypothermia. I think, he basically just passed away in his sleep because he was, so cold and he was so sort of out of it. But I know he was a superb frontman. It would have been great. I mean, you can only watch the videos of him fronting the band to see how good he was. Fantastic.
Right, but it's not him. It's the guitarist, and I can't even remember his name. Eludes me.
Angus Young.
Angus Young. How could that name elude me? Him just skipping all over the street. Yeah. Chuck Berry did it back in the 50s, but Angus Young perfected it in the late 70s and the 80s, and even now it seems like he'll be doing it until he gets put in a box in his grave. And
the thing I like about AC/DC is a book that Mick Wall wrote called "Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be," and you can see how hard they worked. They work super hard, in the early days, and that's what you have to do. And they're a real lesson to up and coming bands like us on the commitment to make it work.
Now, Morpheus, you're giving the kids gems. People the kids that think, hey, I took a couple of classes in school. I learned how to play guitar. I learned how to play drums. I could play the cymbals. Now give me a record deal. No, it's like any other job. You got to work at it. And you've been working at this craft since school, you say, since 18 years old, just after school. Did you go to university at all, or was this?
Yeah, I went off and, did my teaching diploma and got an arts degree, and that sort of set me up for my teaching career. So and that's when I kind of started playing when I was at university. You do a lot of jamming. You getting together and jamming with your mates on a weekly basis. It's really important. But of course, in those days when you start out, people's commitment is hot and cold. One week they're there, the next week they're not turning up, and that's what bands struggle with, I think, to get off the ground. They've got to find a group of people that are prepared to really get into it 100%.
Oh, yeah. It's hard to get 3 or 4 or 5 people together, and practice every Tuesday, every Wednesday. We got to do this practice so that way we'll be ready for the gigs on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Or maybe, practice, Tuesday and Wednesday so you'll be ready for those Friday, Saturday gigs. So that's a big commitment, 4 days out of the week, a minimum to
well, it is.
Develop a band.
Sometimes you're working every weekend, and you've just got to get on and do it. But I mean, for us, it's a passion. We all enjoy each other's company. We enjoy what we do. We love what we do. So it's not a chore to us. But we've just got to be mindful of our families and being available for them as well.
Well, typically the setup and the tear down is my worst part of setting up any gig. I do DJ stuff on the weekends myself. The setting up all the PA system and the lights and the equipment is my most hated part. Once you're in the gig, it's great. I've been looking for a roadie since 1986. You know anybody? But I'm guessing as an independent band, as a band just like yourself, you're setting up your own gigs. Do you have roadies or people that help you out, or are you doing it all your own?
Yeah, we've got friends that come in and help set up and pack down, but generally I do my own drums anyway, because I know everything's got to be tuned properly and in the right place, and you get quite methodical, I guess, in the way you set your gear up.
Yeah, I got a feel for the drummer. It's probably the hardest thing to set up. You got a singer, especially if he's a singer that doesn't play any instruments. All he's doing is pretty much just bringing himself or maybe a microphone to plug in. That's it. Yeah,
but that's true. I guess it's just something you've got to just accept, isn't it? And you go, well, this is part of being a drummer. You just get on with it, and I don't even think about it. I mean, I can get my kit set up pretty much in about 15 minutes. Wow. And pack down in about 15 minutes. So it's not a chore to me. I don't use a lot of gear, so or a lot of cymbals. So yeah, my setup and pack down's real quick these days.
So you're not doing the Neil Peart or the Tommy Lee type setup.
No, I'm more of a Phil Rudd drummer. I've got I basically use the same setup that he's got with less cymbals.
Yeah,
that's very much the same as John Bonham, actually. That 3 cymbals and a hi-hat and 5 drums, and that's it.
Yeah, keep it simple. That's the way it should be. Yeah. I think you can get all the sound out of it just banging on different areas of the skins, right?
Well, it depends what sort of band you are. I mean, for us, as you've mentioned before, it's vocal and guitar driven. That's it. So the rhythm section has to be it's tight and solid and heavy, and that's basically what Maddie and I enjoy focusing on. I'm not really big into lots of drum fills or that sort of thing. I like to just lay down a really nice solid groove. That's where I get my kicks.
Heck yeah, you're the backbeat, man. The spine, the heartbeat of the band. And just hearing those drums, pow pow. A good drummer, it really sets the pace. And it sounds pretty on the nose, but it is on the nose. You need a good drummer to set that pace. Ringo Starr, hate him if you will, but at least he had rhythm.
Oh, I love Ringo. Yeah. Ringo was just. When I was a kid, my parents had a Beatles album, and it had a version of Long Tall Sally on it, and the drumming in that is just exceptional. the snare work on that song, if you ever get a chance to go back and listen to it, is outstanding. So yeah, I'm a big Ringo fan.
Yeah, I know that they were very well influenced by that type of music, that type of American music. And I guess one of the main people they wanted to meet on their first trip to the States was Elvis Presley, and I think they did get to meet him. But okay, so we've already been through AC/DC and a little bit about the Beatles, but from 2016 to 2018, you were a cover band. But before that, I want to talk about your teaching in London. You're a smart guy. What were you teaching in London? What school? What kind of grades?
Well, I was all over London. I was doing, supply teaching work, so you're filling in for sick teachers. But it's primary school, so that's elementary in America, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So first through sixth grade, maybe.
Yeah, so primary school teaching, and so I'd basically you'd ring up the local council in the morning and say, where do you need me today? And they'd tell you, and you'd jump on the bus or the tube and head off to that school, and you'd roll in there sort of not knowing anybody and just get through the day teaching the class. So that's pretty much what I did. And it was more about having money coming in so we could travel,
Absolutely. It's good to have a nice day job, a steady job I have a day job that affords me the ability to do my night job, my fun job, my creative job. So yes, it's nice to have a steady gig that gives you the insurance. And I guess here we worry about our health insurance. It's not socialized or as it is in other countries. So man, even teaching, substitute teacher, when I'm looking at all these movies, coming of age movies, and I guess it's been in my experience as well, when a substitute teacher comes in, there's a possibility that chaos may ensue. How did they treat you? Were you able to, with your rugby background, with your strong, rugged looks, were you able? Yeah, were you able to fend off any of that nonsense?
You just learn to sort of, I guess, roll with the punches are so verbally, so to speak. And I don't know. I really enjoyed. I think if the children can see that you enjoy what you do, you don't tend to get as much disrespect that if you roll in there looking a bit nervous. So I'd generally go in there and just be myself, and it usually work out okay. There'd be a couple of smart comments, but once you'd got the children's respect and everything, it was a pretty settled day. It's not to say it wasn't difficult days. There certainly was that. It just depended on what part of London you were sent to.
Yeah, I'm only just getting to know you, and I like you already, Morpheus Tilley. So, I think you're a great person. So I imagine that you're doing quite well, getting to connect with the children, and so teaching, man, and teaching in different places. That had to be, an adventure in itself. You were making some money, but teaching different kids on different days. Did you ever see the same children from time to time?
Yeah, well, you'd get locked in for sometimes a whole term. If you went to a school and you gelled with the staff, sometimes you get asked back for even a term or 2 terms to cover for a teacher travelling or who's unwell. So that's what it led to after doing the day work or the weekly work. It led to longer term postings. So that's when you get to know the children and get to know the staff and develop some friendships.
Yeah, that's one thing that I enjoyed. About my teachers is developing those relationships. I can still remember a good handful or 2 handfuls of teachers that really connected with me through the years. Were you able to? All right. Did you ever develop any relationships to where they graduated school and said, "Oh, Mr. Tilley, that guy was great"? And did they ever come back to you and give you that sense that you were instrumental in their school life?
No, but you'd always get parents thanking you, at the end of the year. I moved around too much to sort of, the children would go off and grow up and go off to university, but I'd already moved. So, but no, the parents are always thankful at the end of the year.
See, you're giving gems to the people that are thinking about becoming teachers. The advantage, the advantage and disadvantage of being a mobile teacher rather than being a teacher that's permanent and gets tenure. I guess is the word. After a while, you get tenure. I'm not even sure exactly what that means, but I've heard that when you get tenure, you feel you're home free. You feel a sense of relaxation. You don't have to worry that your job is in jeopardy if you do something wrong or do something. I don't know. Maybe I'm going wrong.
Teaching's one of those jobs where it's, it's a career for life if you want it, isn't it? You got a job at a school, and if you do the job properly and well, it is a job for life, and you can travel with it too. So it's been a good career for me and something I've always enjoyed.
Oh, and you're still doing it now?
Oh yeah, and it's I mean, obviously the music is something that we'd love to be professional, but until it starts creating sort of the funding for the four of us to be professional musicians, we have to have day jobs. I think most bands are like that.
I think you're pretty professional. I've listened to your music. If you've made $1, you're professional. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think, and I've said this before on the podcast, so forgive me if you've heard it. But people, the creators, they say, "Oh, I do it for the love of it, not for the money." But you have to make the money to keep a roof over your head and put food on your plate. So it's good to have that day job that affords that.
Exactly, and I think that's what a lot of up and coming musicians, they think that they can go and become a full-time musician, and that's going to be their career. But that's just not the way. And even professional musicians have got jobs outside the touring circuit, especially at the moment. They've had to go and get jobs again to keep the money coming in, because you can't rely on income if there's no touring, or you can't sell merchandise and things. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a shock, I think, for some people, over this year especially. So my heart goes out to all those working musicians who've had to unable to travel and tour and make any money. That's must be really, really hard for them.
Oh, I've spoken to some musicians and artists that have bet on themselves. At a certain point in their life, they felt like their careers were going well enough, that they were making enough money to sustain themselves. They chucked all their other careers, and myself included. Until from 1986 until 2004, I was working as a DJ on the weekends, but I still had a day job. And then 2004, I chucked it all, and I stopped working at any other job besides radio and working as a DJ on the weekends, doing weddings and parties and such. And so I bet on myself in that respect, to that I could make it as an entertainer. But then of course I went back to work in 2009. So for those 5 years I was doing nothing but creative, creating music and playing music for people. So it's difficult at best, unless you can live like a pauper. You could be a starving artist and not make a lot of money. And if you could live like that, live simply, then it may work out for you. But for the rest of us, have a day job, something steady, and then do your gigs at night. Do your fun stuff at night.
Well, you got to keep the money coming in to be able to put into your band, and into your gear. You can't just rely on performance income to keep things afloat, especially in a small country like New Zealand. It's really, you'd have to be touring incessantly to try and make a living out of it. So I think it's always good to have something to fall back on.
Well, those 5 million people, have they heard the Mojo Alice already? Are they tired of you already?
Well, I think that the country, the rock community is aware of us, and we've had a little bit of radio play. There's our main radio station for rock music is called The Rock, and every year they have a countdown of the top 2,000 songs that people have voted for, and we got one of our songs on that countdown this year. So that was quite a moment for us, because we all listen to The Rock, and to hear your own band on there's a bit of a buzz. So that was good. But there's local internet radio in New Zealand that are really supportive of all the Kiwi rock bands, and so that's great. We're part of that scene, so that's great. So our music's getting played, and of course Spotify has been quite successful as well. So, but it does take a while to build your name, and and our live gigs are probably the area where people come away seeing the best of us, so that tends to create, our live shows create more of a buzz than the music on the radio does.
Yeah, it appears now that vinyl albums and CD sales are pretty much nil. The live playing is where you get that notoriety, where you get the most of your income off of playing. So any musicians that were very good at recording and overdubbing themselves and using effects to make their music sound right, but they still don't know how to play live, they're the ones that are not going to be doing so well. They're not going to have that longevity. But it appears from watching your videos that you are actual musicians that have gelled together in these 4 or 5 years. Now, from 2016 to 2018, you were a cover band. What kind of gigs were you playing? How long did you practice before you started getting out and playing gigs?
I think most of 2016 was just putting a repertoire together, and it was bluesy rock, AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, old classics. Just trying to think what we used to do. We used to look at some modern stuff as well. We'd do a bit of Gary Clark Jr., who's a pretty cool guitarist. We'd do Joan Jett. Things like that. So we're just basically stuff that we thought people would like to listen to, but it wasn't. You'd go away, learn a song, turn up to rehearsal, and we'd nail it in about 30 minutes. And you thought, well, what do we do now? And so in the end, it just it wasn't as enjoyable as writing our own music. So that's how it led into the original. You brought up a good point before about, putting on that live show and being able to sort of reproduce your album. We did our album. We actually recorded it old school, live, basically in the room all together.
Wow!
And then Jem put her vocals over after we'd done the rhythm tracks. But it was basically drums, guitar, and bass all playing at the same time. So I think there's a track on the album, Master of Loving, was basically 1 or 2 takes. We only ever did, I think, 3 takes of each song in the end. We'd have a warm-up take, and then we'd record the second and third one. And generally, if they were pretty spot on, we'd choose one of those. So that's why live we sound so close to the record, because we don't use any effects, we don't use any processors, backing tracks. We're old school in that regard. So, when people come to see us, I think that's where they get blown away, that actually live we sound just like we do on the record, if not a bit heavier.
Yeah, Morpheus Tilley. I wonder about the logistics of that. I've never been much of a sound engineer. I've never really recorded. I guess I've recorded some demos for people here and there, but for somebody to be in an actual recording studio and record a 4-piece band, to record 3 of those pieces all in one room, not separated by plexiglass. I mean, how do you mic all that?
We got screens up, and we had certainly, there was a bit of. We did a lot of reading up about microphone bleed and how to embrace it, but in the end, we had it so well sort of sorted or planned that we didn't have a lot of microphone bleed. Once we got to the mixing phase, it wasn't a big issue at all. So, that's why I think the album sounds so energetic, is because we're actually playing live on it.
Yes, I was talking to a band earlier that they play, due to this COVID thing, they had to do their whole, all their instruments separately in their own homes or in their own recording studios that they had set up in their homes. One guy set up the vocals in his closet, and then they had to send all that to a recording engineer that had to Frankenstein the thing together and make it into a record. And apparently going back and forth through email, no, it doesn't sound right, change this. No, it doesn't sound, change this. Yeah. But if you have everybody in the same room with your producer, did you have another producer that was running the mixing board?
No, we did it all ourselves. We didn't have a producer for that record. We planned to for the next one, but it was real.
This one sounds great. Basically. This one sounds great. Yeah, you don't mess with perfection. I think you did good.
Cheers for that. We're really tough on ourselves. If there's something about a song that one of us doesn't like, we tend to work on it till we're all collaboratively happy with it. That's why we have very few arguments. If someone says, "Oh, that doesn't sound right to me," we're quite respectful, and we'll work on that song till we're all happy with it, 100%. If we're not, and it's not working, we park it and move on.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that is real old school, man. If you listen to some of the records from the 60s, you'll hear that everyone was in the same room, and it's real analog. So, sometimes the recordings fail a little bit, but with the new digital processors, with even a computer with some good mics and a good mixing board, I think you can do it right, and you're living proof that you can do it right all by yourself. I think the record companies are running scared. These independents, they got it all down for about $1,000 or so. You can get yourself some decent recording equipment and do it all on your own. You've proven that.
Yeah, and you've just got to be patient. We were very patient and just got the sound right first before we recorded. But no, we were very happy with it. I was actually listening to the record the other day. I hadn't listened to it for a while, and I'm really happy with the production, the way it worked out.
Well, you mentioned that you have that day job, and that affords you the ability to buy equipment. Do you find that you're upgrading your drum equipment over the years? How many times have you changed drum kits on since you started?
I think drummers are notorious for changing gear. Well, I'm a real I love vintage gear, because I've bought. About 10 years ago, I bought a new drum kit, and I wasn't that happy with, the parts on it. The working parts on it weren't lasting very long, and so now the drum kits I do use are all from the 70s and the 80s. So because the gear lasts, anything out of America, like I've got an old 70s Ludwig drum kit, which is my main gigging kit if no one else is using it. That's nearly 50 years old, and it's still fantastic. And the other kit I use as my main gigging kit is a mid-80s Tama kit, and that's, again, everything. It's got a beautiful warm sound. The wood's matured really, it's Filipino mahogany, and it's just matured beautifully. It's got a really lovely warm sound, but the parts, I haven't had to replace any parts on it. And same with the stands, so it's getting the gear that was made really carefully to last. That's what I focus on now.
Yeah, I find a lot of the stuff now is made real cheaply. So you get what you pay for. You should spend the extra money, especially if you're serious about your craft, such as you are. But I'm remembering the Tama name and the Ludwig name. Although those the bass, do you have the logo for Mojo Alice sitting on front of your bass?
We have our Baron. he's the guy with the top hat, and so he's our logo. And we've also got, the main logo of the band's got a male and female face on it, which is based from the Master of Loving song, which Jem wrote the lyrics to. So it's Baron McCraw as our logo guy.
Yeah. See, and you're giving credit where credit is due. That's the way it should be. And definitely give shout outs to the people that have helped you in your life, and give shout outs to the other band members. I'm so sad that I didn't get to talk to them on this round, but I'm very happy that I'm talking to you, Morpheus Tilley. But give shout outs to first and last names or stage names of the rest of the band.
Yeah, well, you've heard Jem's vocals. Obviously, she's just got this natural talent with her big, beautiful voice. I think that takes a lot of people by surprise when they see us live, of how good her voice is. And Brody and Matt are really accomplished guitar players. So it makes songwriting actually good fun, because I really respect what they come up with, and they've got really, really good ideas. So, that's something about them that I really enjoy working with them. That they just we don't settle for things that are simple. We try and make it a little bit technical at times. If it just flows and grooves, then that's fine too.
Well, you mentioned that in 2018 you chucked all that cover band stuff away. By that
Yeah.
time, you had what seven songs, original songs. Who was carrying the weight of writing and producing those songs?
All of us really, but we'd get them to a certain point, and then would keep tweaking them. And the opening track of the album in my head was the very first song we wrote. But I think it was probably 4 or 5 months before we'd finished with the actual arrangement that's on the record. And sometimes that develops through jamming, and you just play it a lot of times, and that things just work themselves out. And other times people come in with an idea and say, "Oh, I've got an idea for this song, or it should have a stop there, or a bridge there," and that's kind of how it works. But it was mainly Brody, Jem, and myself that started writing the first few songs, and then when Matty came in, he sort of added his little flavour to it as a bass player. So it's all of us really.
So Morpheus Tilley, I mean, I've heard it before, and I'll say it. I'll maybe paraphrase it. The art is never finished; it's abandoned, and that was most famously shown to us by the Star Wars creator when he went back years later and redid all of his movies because he wasn't happy with these masterpieces that he had made, years before, and he had to recreate them and add more characters because he felt like, oh, I could do better than that. When do you know that a song is finished? I always wonder that.
Well, that's the difficulty. You just know, and we're really good at just looking at each other and saying, "You're happy? Yep, all right, that's it, that's done." But it will develop them. As you play it more, it will change. And even now, we're finding that there's slight changes to the songs. People won't know it. It's just the way we play them. But that's the biggest challenge, is going, yes, that's finished, let's move on. And I've been in bands before where you think a song is finished and then the guitarist will come in the following week, "Oh no, I've changed this or I've changed that." And in the end, it just does your head in, because I'm not one, I get bored very, very quickly. So if I'm constantly going over the same thing over and over and over, it just does me in. So I like the way that we work. We all agree the song's done, and then that's it. We move on to the next one. So but I hear what you're saying. It's a big challenge, that.
Well, going back all the way full circle to the beginning, AC/DC back in 2012 released all their records again. I'm not even sure why they did that. Maybe so Brian Johnson could have. Was it him on the vocals? Because I remember that record. I still play it. I love it. Do you remember that they redid all their music? And do you know why they did that?
That was for iTunes, wasn't it? They remixed it or remastered it for having it on iTunes. I'm not sure, but I know they remastered a lot of the older albums, the 80s. Well, yeah, the 70s and 80s albums are all remastered.
Okay.
With the latest technology. I mean, I think Jimmy Page has done Led Zeppelin's about 3 times, I think, over the last 30 years.
Well, I suspect that you'll probably do it as well if you get bored as easily as you say you did. I could do that better.
We're about moving forward and just writing new music. We're in the middle of writing for a new album now, so which is really exciting. We're pleased with what we're coming up with.
Well, that brings us to now. Mojo Alice, as we're breaking out of quarantine, you say you got some gigs coming up, and you got a new album you've already alluded to. Tell people how to get a hold of the old album, the first album that came out in November of 2019. Tell people how to get a hold of that and what's on the horizon.
Well, we have been selling it through our website. That's where you can buy it, a digital version from our website, and it's not very expensive. I think we were selling it for about 13 or 14 New Zealand dollars. So I don't know what that is in American dollars. It's probably about $8 or $9. And that's for just like off iTunes, it's an instant digital download. But it's going to be released on a number of platforms in the coming weeks. So we're just getting that organised now. So that's exciting. But Spotify's got, I think we've got 8 out of the 9 songs on Spotify now.
Well, the website is mojoaliceband.com, and
That's
right
it,
at right at the top of the fold, you'll see that banner with the male and the female face, and all the
Yep.
links are there. You have the Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify links that'll lead you straight over there. Now,
Yep.
the reason I'm talking to you, I didn't know a lot about you before, but my buddies over at 434 Management tell me
Yep.
that's something brand new. Tell me about what they're doing for you. What's the advantage and disadvantage of being with a manager?
Well, it's not really any disadvantages. We even the fact that they're in Texas and we're in New Zealand's not a hindrance at all, because we have Zoom. We have Zoom meetings every couple of weeks. We were just Paul and Derek have been just real genuine guys and real helpful, and we're just looking forward to waiting till we can get to America and do some gigs. I mean, obviously, our music, we can see on Spotify that it's popular there, and so we're just looking forward to making a plan and working with them and getting over to the States to play some gigs. But they're good guys, and they're genuine, and they've got good senses of humor, which is important to us.
Well, I've never gotten to meet face-to-face Paul Crosby, formerly of Saliva, but I did get to talk to Derek face-to-face in Little Rock. He was doing a gig with he was promoting a gig with some bands, and we had a nice sit-down on the podcast, and he seems like a very genuine person, man. He feels like it seems like he wants to help. That this is his calling, is to promote other people.
I think Paul is still. I think he's back playing drums with Saliva now. But the boys, the two of them are just. I think they can see our potential, which is great, because that's what you want, and they really want to help us build our career. So it works really well, and we get on well with them. And we as a band, we like things to be quite family orientated. Mm-hmm. And that's how they see things as well. So yeah, we're a bit of we all enjoy talking with each other, and are all on the same page, which is good.
Well, that's one thing is I feel like well, the thought just got out of my head, man. You're very soothing to talk to. I like that a lot, man.
It's Sunday morning here, so it's it's chilled out. It's very quiet.
I like that. You're always a day ahead.
Yeah.
It's still Saturday afternoon for us here in the United States. But, I look forward to having you come over here. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. That's what I was thinking about. Was when I was a salesman, I had to believe in my product or else I could not sell it. And it seems like, they believe in you. They believe in your potential. And just listening to your tunes, just tell me, you guys rock. You rock. With Jem on the vocals and the guitar driven and the backbeat, you rock. You definitely do.
Chief, thanks for that.
There's not much more. Any other avenues you want to explore? Any other shout outs you want to give to the people that have helped you along the way as we wind this thing down?
No, I just want. There's a musician, a bass player in Perth called Lou Menzies, who's been super supportive with us. She's in Perth, so I just want to give a shout out to her. But I know we just want to say thank you to all our family, our partners and wives and husbands, and our kids and all our wider family, and all our friends have been really supportive. They're all really excited for us with the journey that we've been on. So to all those people that are following us on Facebook and giving us really positive feedback, all the DJs in New Zealand and music management people, just want to say thank you very much. Well, we're just going to try and do our best and get as far as we can with this. We're sort of super fully committed.
It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Morpheus Tilley of the Mojo Alice Band, mojoaliceband.com. I usually finish these things off with last words for the people. This could be some words that you heard a long time ago, words to live by, maybe a mantra that you wake up with every morning, or it could just be whatever pops into your head at this moment in time. Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice, last words for the people. Yeah,
we have a mantra in our band. It is... If it ain't got the groove, it ain't got nothing. And that's my final words.
Well, there you have it, party people. Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice. If you haven't heard them yet, I encourage you to go hear them. They rock. They rock. Guitar-driven, backbeat, vocals. They got it all. They got it all. 4 pieces, nice full sound. And you could tell by the recordings, yes, you could tell that they were all working together. They were harmonizing together. They're gelling together. They got it all. I didn't realize they were all in the same room, but now looking back with that knowledge, listening back with that knowledge, yeah, I can tell they were all in the same room gelling. They were not recording their own parts in different parts of the country, in different parts of the world, and then sending them over to a producer to try to mix them all down. That's very difficult. Being a producer has to be a difficult job to begin with, and to do that, and it can be done with this electronic age, with this internet age, and probably even before, you would send a master tape of your guitar playing and a master tape of your drumming and your master tape of your bass playing and your master tape of your vocals over to a producer, and he or she would try to put something together out of all that. But now, if you're all in the same room recording together, yeah, that has got to be the way to go. And I did have that question about the microphone bleeding if you're all in the same room. But I guess if you're all sectioned off using screens, you can limit that microphone bleeding to make it a little easier to, okay, I need a little bit more bass guitar on this one. Oh, that hi-hat needs to be a little more pronounced. Oh, that drum, that vocal. It makes it a little easier to track it for a producer. And me, I have very limited knowledge of producing. I've recorded some demos for people over the years, but I've never really done, one of these, you see in those recording studios where they have, 50, 60 tracks of different instruments where they're changing the levels here and there. And I suspect that a lot of them are only using maybe 4 of those tracks. They just have these big, long mixing boards. But that's just me. That's just me. I'm being cynical. I get it. But, it was terribly nice talking to Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice out there in Wellington. Now I know the capital of New Zealand is Wellington. That's where the government is, not Auckland. I thought it was Auckland. Auckland is just the biggest city. It's not the capital city. Yeah, there. Just like New York City was going to be the capital of these United States, but some negotiations, and if you believe anything in Hamilton, you'll see that was part of the negotiation, was putting the capital city in the South, in Washington, D.C., yeah, closer to Virginia, closer to Maryland. Yeah. So maybe that was part of it. Can you believe Maryland? I don't. Can you believe Washington, Hamilton? Maybe. But I digress. It was good talking to you, Morpheus Tilley of Mojo Alice. Thank you so much for being on the show. And I encourage everyone to check out mojoaliceband.com for all your Mojo Alice needs, including merchandise. Yeah, merchandising where the real money's made. They could just sit around their house and sell merchandise. That would be the way to go, wouldn't it? No, but a musician's got to play. I imagine that's the way it is. Like a guy like me who likes to talk into microphones has to talk into microphones, right? Am I right? Speaking of talking into microphones, if you would like to talk into a microphone with me on the What Makes You Famous podcast, I encourage you to give me a call at 501-470-6386 or email info@radiowhat.com. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, radiowhat.com, djlittlerock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.